Now, there's no election forecast for the near future, but it sure felt like federal leaders were out on the campaign trail a bit today, trading barbs, pushing their party's priorities. Pierre Poilievre was even asked if an election is imminent when he was in Trois-Rivières, Quebec this afternoon. CBC's Karina Roman is in Ottawa with more on how the Conservative leader answered that question.
Well, he said that you always have to be ready in a minority parliament. But the reason he was asked was because he was introduced by Yves Lévesque, who's a former mayor of Trois-Rivières, who, if he would like, Pierre Poilievre says would be a great candidate again in the next election, whenever it shall be. He did run in 2021 for the Conservatives. He gained quite a bit of votes for the party, but still came in second. So that started to spur that election conversation on in terms of questions from reporters there. All of this we're hearing from all the leaders today because we're leading into the House of Commons returning January 30th, just over a week away, and they're all sort of sharpening their messages and, trying to use this time to not just spend time with their families and in their ridings, but to, push forward with their messages. And for the Conservatives, important for Pierre Poilievre to be in Quebec because to make gains, they definitely have to make gains there.
So the Prime Minister spoke to reporters in Shawinigan, Quebec, after touring an electric vehicle charger production plant. Seems to be his tone over the past week, talking about electric vehicles. But what other things? What was his type of tone there overall?
Well, it was the second day that he went after Pierre Poilievre quite sharply. You'll recall yesterday where, he sort of basically implied that the Conservative leader is very cozy with the convoy protesters as we get to the year anniversary of that protest here in Ottawa. But today he went after Pierre Poilievre for his visit in Quebec and his lack of plan for climate change. Have a listen.
He has so far refused to put forward any level of seriousness in understanding that fighting climate change and protecting the environment is the only way to ensure good jobs for Canadians across the country in all industries. Good mining jobs, good blue-collar energy jobs, good manufacturing jobs, good service industry jobs. These are all linked to a growing economy that happens when we're drawing in investment from around the world because we are leading in the solutions that are going to continue to fight climate change. I think I wish him luck and hope he listens.
Now, Pierre Poilievre points out that this is his fourth visit to Trois-Rivières because the Prime Minister said, it's nice to see him finally in Quebec. Well, he's actually been there quite a few times. But when asked for what his climate change plan is, Pierre Poilievre didn't really have any concrete policy to share with us yet. In fact, he talked about green lighting and expediting projects. And he also talked about how we should be increasing our natural gas and oil production to offset what's happening with Russia and Ukraine to help countries who are so dependent on those supplies from Russia. So still waiting for details of some kind of climate change plan from the Conservative leader.
Yeah. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, he was coming down hard both on Trudeau and Poilievre. That is something that all party leaders seem to do. Talk about this strategy.
Well, I mean, the NDP are always in that tough position of having to go after both parties and not just focus on one leader, especially since the Liberals, have eaten into union support that the NDP used to rely on and still would like to rely on in terms of its electoral fortunes. And the Conservatives, especially under Pierre Poilievre, really going after trying to be the party for the people, for the average person, for the worker. That is definitely the domain, again, of the NDP. So Jagmeet Singh, they're looking to hold on to, the base of support, but also get back some that it's lost from those other parties. So, Jagmeet Singh going after both leaders there. And so you'll hear in this next clip how he straddles that. Have a listen.
While Danielle Smith and Doug Ford and Heather Stefanson launch a mission to privatize public, universal Canadian healthcare, Justin Trudeau does nothing. And Pierre Poilievre cheers them on.
Now, we have heard from the finance critic for the NDP saying that the budget coming up probably the spring sometime, March maybe, will be a real test for that supply and confidence deal between the NDP and the Liberals in terms of the NDP looking to see what more it can push the Liberal government to do on its priorities, such as healthcare, to be able to see if that agreement lasts. And I just want to share as well, Jagmeet Singh taking the opportunity in his speech to go off script a little bit and share an anecdote about, how his remembering his struggles when he had sort of, as a young adult, live on his own and take care of his younger brother because his parents weren't able to at that time, and just the struggle that involved. And it was interesting because it felt like he was trying to tell people, I don't just believe in these things because I'm a leader of the NDP. It's not just ideology, it's personal. And all leaders, Pierre Poilievre has also tried to do that in terms of talking about their personal stories and having that relate to Canadians. So that was just an interesting moment this morning.
Karina Roman in Ottawa.